Hello, I am the OBG. Just come on today. Complaints. It's not a complaint as such. Okay, it is. I don't think people have ideas, like new ideas. I think people get stuck in a rut, and it bothers me. You know, it bothers me a lot. I claim to be a thinker, and I believe it's true. I'm always, like learning something new, looking for something new, looking for new ideas, trying to share thoughts and feelings and so on. And I think evidence to that is a fact. Ever since I was a kid. Hello, Mark. Ever since I was a kid. Hello, David. Ever since I was a kid growing up, people say like, oh, that's weird. And I still find it as an adult. I start having a conversation with somebody, and very quickly during the conversation, they're like, oh, because they think I've said something odd. You pick up on it after a while, because to me, it's just normal speak. But what it is, I think, and I'm not trying to claim I'm anyone special for it, just a little bit, I think that I'm sometimes speaking out of this sphere of their knowledge, which is nothing wrong with that, but the fact that I have to exclaim rather than listening. And creative thinkers, like for instance, one of the guys in the room, Mark Price, he's an artist, so he was. I don't know if he draws anymore. He was one of my favourite artists because he was, I suppose, my best friend at the time. And he could draw, and he was creative because he used to draw from memory. He never used to. He could draw anything, but he could draw from his head. He could just illustrate stuff. That's creativity I'm talking about, and it doesn't just apply to art, but it's a thinking mind. And if you've got a creative thinking mind, you're more critical of things, and you're more creative. And what I see a lot of people doing, and the reason why I mention this, hello Sim, is because in Sim are very creative too, ask questions. And I think that's one of the things, that if you ask questions of people, then you know more, rather than approaching people with what you already know, and then fighting against the new information. And the reason why I'm speaking about this, I just sat on a bench, and there's the university up the road. I saw lots of young students walking by. And when I was that age, I thought I was grown up. But now looking at 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they look like babies. And that's no fault of their own. But when they go to school and college and university, some people, it's a badge of honour. Oh yeah, I've got a degree. And I'm like, poor thing, you've got 4 more years of studying, 4 more years of indoctrination. And a very small percentage of those people, I believe, actually come out and have free creative thinking minds. They work with the subset of knowledge that they've learned, which is meant to be a higher level of learning. For instance, if you only learn how to count up to 5, every time you saw 20 objects, and you would group them into groups of 5, that's 5 and 5 and 5. You've got to do the work 4 times, to get to the 20. If you count up to 10, which covers all the numbers, then you do it twice, maybe go 10 and 10 and so on. Obviously, we break it down into smaller units, easier to count. But your creativity could get stifled because you limit yourself within the confines of those smaller things. And what I'm trying to elucidate here is that we have to keep on learning. The more we keep on learning and the more we keep on taking in, then the more creative we can be. It doesn't always mean so, but I believe that it's a key to being more creative. And what people do is they learn one particular area. This is like one of the problems I see with the New Agers, the Truthers, the Flat Earthers and so on. Typically, and this is my opinion and it's my truth, say what you like, you can't doubt what I observe and my conclusion. Well, you can, but I'll say it anyway. So what happens is, these people, they're armed with some new knowledge, and they use it as a badge of honour. Did you know, like 60 Magna Carta, and they start throwing out this new knowledge, but they live within that subset, and there's no creativity around it. They won't look for loopholes within the law. They won't look for loopholes within the system. Hello, Ian. Hello, Lisa. They won't look for loopholes within the system with the new knowledge. All they are armed with is that new knowledge. And it's not for everyone to do. I'm not saying to everyone, you all have to go out and get, more educated, because what is education? And what is intelligence? Whatever you know and need to survive is all you need, in a sense. But it's about the people who mouth it off about what they know and not sharing information. I'm a teacher, naturally. May not be a best teacher or whatever, but I love teaching what I know. I love sharing more than anything. It's not about teaching, sharing, I suppose. So when I share stuff with people, then I hope that they take it on board, and equally I'll take from them, and we have new knowledge, and we have to be creative with that. Creativity is the key. Otherwise we can't elevate ourselves. Because what I find a lot of people do is they stop learning, maybe at 16 when they leave school. Some people go to college, university, and they're 18 and then they leave education, and some at 21, they go, well, I've been at university. And it's like, yeah, but you stop learning at 21. And the issue with that, and I've raised my kids like this, I said to them, don't ever stop learning, because if you stop learning when you leave school, hello Deepak, hello Ben, if you stop learning when you leave school or university, then by the time you're 35, you only have a 21-year-old's knowledge. And that's common for most people. We've decided to put a number on it, say 21, you're an adult, and so on. But to stop learning at that age is detrimental to our growth. And the reason why I say this is because I believe when we have a level of learning, all of us, we elevate ourselves, we elevate our consciousness, we elevate our our very being. If we all can count to 5, all of us, 100 people in a room, then we can all communicate about the 5s, we get that much knowledge. But if there's a small subset of people in there, 10 people, who can count to 10 and multiply numbers by 10 and 9 and 8 and 7 and 6 quite easily, then we elevate those people as being more intelligent and so on. And the people who are controlling us, it's not that they have more knowledge, they have a different knowledge to us, and we don't know their knowledge, and we don't have to learn their knowledge, but what we can do is learn our knowledge and elevate ourselves so we can communicate on what I see as, whether it's higher or wider, but a different level, which I believe is greater than the knowledge that we have at the moment. And that's the only way we're going to step up the game. Once again, trumpet blow time. Hello, Barry. I find sometimes I can't have a conversation with people because, and I'll start off maybe, communicating with them. Hello, how you doing? Oh yeah, did you see that thing in the news today? I said, well, I don't really watch the news. Like, what? You don't watch the news? How do you know what's going on? They're saying. I don't need to know what was told in the news. All you heard today, that was Iraq-abad, black boy was arrested because they're muggers, and women stepped out of line, and you hear all this negative stuff. And the stuff that we do hear that we can't do nothing about, it doesn't matter. I don't want to hear about the fact what happened in Kazakhstan yesterday, because you're not doing anything about it. All you're telling me is another horror story about a little girl who was killed. But the knowledge, the real knowledge, is about learning who we are, where we are, and how we move forwards. And you can find that knowledge if you look for it, rather than waiting for it. Now, I know a lot of people can't do it. I understand that. So I see myself sometimes, and this isn't a trumpet blow, but as a person who does that kind of work, and then I can impart that knowledge on the OBG show, and people can maybe pick up from it, and some may get interested. But the hope is that one person emerges as a leader. We're getting older now. I'm 56. Sometimes I just hate getting out of bed. But there's a young person may watch me, may watch another person, and say, I'm into this, I like this, and they have the energy, and with that energy they can go forwards, because all it takes is one person. They need all about, hello Kissy, hello Boise, big up Boise, hello Barry. All we need is that one voice that people can listen to, and one voice that people can believe in. Because right now we're going through the toughest time, and it's relative, I understand. Let me explain a little bit about what I see as the issue here. A lot of it is based on racism right now, and I need people to think hard about this, because the majority of my friends are white. There's no told you so, there's no black and white are better or whatever, but what I'm saying is the white people had the strongest voice, even though they make up the minority of the world. Everything that most of you in the room right now, is white history, white mathematics, white science. And you can argue all day long, but it's just science, it's for everybody. No. It's white science. It's a Eurocentric perspective about everything, about how the world works. And as much as we point at other countries and say they're backwards because they believe in voodoo or gods, we're exactly the same, but we put names to them and we call it science. We don't actually know how this works, but we believe, we've looked so deep into it with microscopes, and we think this is happening. It's the same old voodoo. And what's happened is the people at the top, I believe, what they're doing now is they're trying to create a level playing field, regardless of whether it's good for most of us or not, because they've never had a care for us. What they're saying is we're going to create a shift in the balance of power. And that shift in the balance of power, it affects white people more than everybody else, believe it or not, because they have had all the power. So the Africans are going, well, we're seeing a decrease in the deficit and what we have to pay back. We're seeing a little growth in the economy. And Europeans are going, fuck this shit. Everything's really shit for me now. And all that's happened is you're losing some of the wealth. And part of me kind of thinks, well, it's nothing to worry about. Obviously, it's going to be job losses and suicides and life loss. I'm not laughing at them. I'm laughing at the absurdity of what I just said, or what I was going to say. But what happens is they're trying to level the playing field. Now, I know I'm not wrong on this. I've done so much studying this. Like, wow, this is shit for us more than anyone else because we're so wealthy. But the rest of the world's coming up. So what happens is the Americans, who are as racist as fuck, what they've done is they went and stormed the Capitol, the most prized, most precious building in the country. And once again, listen carefully in the terms you have to understand. White people, they stormed the Capitol. one person got shot. If hundreds of them went in there. Why? Because the Constitution, which was written for white people, it's such a racist Constitution, it didn't consider black people at the time. And at least 48% of the leaders at the time, or the people who wrote the Constitution, they owned slaves. It didn't, you know, it didn't consider people of colour. But now they're seeing a change and a break in the Constitution, which does really need a bit of reform. They're talking it's cast in stone and it's our First Amendment right. It's bollocks, it needs change. If 10 black people went into the a Capitol building on that day, they wouldn't have even got in anyway, but just supposing 10 of them went in, 9 of them would have got shot. But hundreds went in and smashed the place up. And now in Europe we're seeing this backlash about immigrants and foreigners, Americans now, they're attacking Asians and so on, always have done. And that's all the issue is, and that's what's great to me at the moment, because it's a very Eurocentric view that we're changing. Now, if I'm wrong, and let's hold on to that, but let me move on, we're still being affected, and we have to stand up against a system that makes changes without our voices. Because what the system's saying right now, and it's the technocrats more than anything else who are advising people, are saying, and once again, the three wankers, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk and Bill Gates. There's Fauci and there's like Klaus Schwab and all these other players, but these are the three main technocrats. And they're saying things like, how can you listen to a voice of a young white American male who's never had a fucking girlfriend, who built a website based on judging women, turned it into Facebook saying, this is my vision for the world. For the world. And Bill Gates. And Elon Musk, you may like them or not, it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is, why are we listening to the voice of just three men who are saying how the world's going to be in the future for billions of us? And once again, it's a Eurocentric voice. They're not Americans, they're Europeans. And every time, for all of your knowledge, and you have to ask yourself the question, why do I believe the world is as it is based on a European voice? I know nearly everyone in this room, and you know, and I'm not worried about exceptions, because I know there's only one or two of you, believe everything you believe about the world, science, literature, history, all that, but because a European said so. How can they be right about everything? They can't. So my voice here, what I'm saying, it's not about, oh, white people are wrong or white people are bad or anything. What I'm saying is we're listening to the Eurocentric voice all the time, and that is damage. If they wanted to control Europe, fair enough. If they had control over their colonies and wanted to voice it, fair enough. And then, you know, that's change, move out. But we're still listening to that voice. We can't be listening to one voice to change the world. It has to be a collective, and that's our voice, which is why we have to rise, we have to stand, we have to go to these marches. We have to be heard, we have to make new laws. And instead of challenging everything separately and saying things like, oh, let's fight against geoengineering, let's fight against violence against women, let's fight against fracking, let's fight against racism. Forget that, that's fragmentation. We're all fighting separate fights. Where's the unity? We make a few rules at the core where we, where we say, right, you don't cause harm to no one, you don't cause harm to the planet. And if by referendum or vote people don't want this change, then it doesn't happen. Three things, that simple. So if they start fracking and we don't like it, regardless, it doesn't happen. If they start geoengineering and we don't like it, the people, then it doesn't happen. If we find some proof of, well, it's causing some harm, whether it's to us, whether it's to wildlife, to nature, then it doesn't happen. It's that simple. We don't fight it as a separate cause. Because if there's a line here of goodness, and below is the, you know, underneath here is us, the voice that says it can't happen, and above is all the madness going on. We just get that stuff and we hold it in check and we pull it back down and we say, this isn't happening. That's all we need to do. We need to get together with our voices. There's no black, there's no white right now. Separate yourselves after and fly your damn flags. Oh, I'm black. If you keep screaming out that you're black, just for the sake of it, you're free to do so. If you keep screaming out you're white just for the sake of it, you're free to do so. But you're a commodity. It's a creation race. Race is something so new, hundreds of years old only. And you know, and to hold on to that belief, oh, I'm of this race. And it's like, but it didn't exist before. We would have seen colour, and you may have described someone as black or whatever colour existed at the time, because blue didn't exist for the longest time, by the way. I talked about this on the show. Imagine a world without blue, and people think like blue always existed, but it didn't. And then suddenly blue is introduced. You know, they got the dye from a plant and so on. And everyone's like, wow, it's just fantastic new blue. And they all want part of blue. And we could see colour. We may say, you know, that dark man, that black man. In many countries I visit, even in Spain, they say el negro. They call me negro or, you know, black guy or whatever. And it doesn't matter. And we describe what we see. Tall guy. Many countries like Nicaragua, Latinos, they say ugly, fat, people, the fat guy, or whatever. But what happens is they created this race thing. And they divided people and said, you're of this race and this race. And the issue with that is that they said that one race is superior to all the others. And it's no one's fault that they believe it, because you've been indoctrinated. But you have to unlearn that shit, because it tells you that you're superior, and you don't actually believe it yourself. You think on the surface, but subconsciously you do, because you belong to that group of people who claim to be, who have been told that they're superior. And for us who are told that we're inferior, we even started believing it. And it takes us a long time to learn. But we have to come together, race, sex, religion, everyone, right now, to fight the very small group of people who are shaping everything. That's it. That's all. Rant over. Hello, Louis. Hello, Emma. So if anyone wants to say anything, they will say you got COVID. Absolutely. And now I put my mask on to go into shops and so on. I've got it in my pocket. So, but I just don't wear it out. I don't see the point. Plus, I'm skating right now, and you can't breathe with a mask on. So you want to get that cough checked out. You know what that is? That's a smoker's cough, to be honest. I had half a cigarette I took out as I came out, and I thought, should I smoke it or not? And it was a bit. I wasn't in the mood for it, but I smoked it anyway, and I think it hit me, which is very rare. Yeah, Musk or Zuckerberg. I think they think they've got good ideas, because they're human, and they are creative. There's no doubt about that. So I talked about creativity earlier, and they're creative people. But what happens with power? It's like me sitting in a room with all of you guys, and I put forward an idea, that's all, and I hope we can discuss it, and people can tell me, no, it's, they don't want to go along with it, or even someone may be, strong enough to say, well, it's a silly idea, but they have to put some thought into that, not just it's silly because they don't like it. If they say to me, that's a silly idea, and I stop it, actually it was a bit silly, I wasn't really thinking, oh yeah, I neglected this, that and the other. But imagine that you guys looked up to me. Why? Because I'm a billionaire. And I know some of you would, I know most of you would, not look up in the sense of, you think I'm better than you, but I know as an ordinary guy now, you respect me for that, and we respect each other. But if I told you my little secret, and I said I've got like £20 million in the bank, suddenly everything changes. And everyone's like, wow, he's fake, he pretends he's cool and laid back, but he's fucking loaded. And it's like, why would your opinion change? And for others, I'd say, well, I made my money myself, and I've done this in hard work, and you're like, wow, that's really good. You look up, and then, there's a kind of adoration and so on. But a billion and more billions, and putting yourself in a position where you've got friends in the press, in the media, and they promote every single fucking bit of bullshit that you say, people are going to keep on hearing your voice. And with that power, knowing you've got millions and tens of millions of followers on Facebook, on YouTube and all that, the adoration, and you just keep growing in your head, and with the power comes insanity. So now, imagine this group again, us. I suddenly don't even have to say, shall we do this, or do you think this is a good idea? Now I say, right, listen, you guys, we're going to do this. And it affects the women because it's a man's perspective. It affects the white people because it's a black man's perspective. It affects the poor people because it's a rich man's perspective, and so on. And that's what they're doing. And they believe in themselves, and they don't see the harm that they're doing. And that annoys me. Hello, Elizabeth, darling. Elizabeth always gets a kiss. Just practicing for when I meet her one day. Ditch the gag, says Emma. And that's right, we have to ditch the gag. It's like, I don't think there's been any increase. And people can argue that's because people had masks on. But what about in the early days when everyone took their masks off, when the COVID was really strong? And they said all these people at this, I said Spanish there, I keep on mixing my words, at this manifestation, at this protest, they're all going to get COVID, and COVID's going to rise because of them. Nothing happened. It's all bollocks. Dr. fucking Fauci and Bill Gates and all the other players whose names we're not seeing, they're all implementing this whole one world, new world, great reset thing. And they're keeping us indoors. Now, I forget the area, but last time my friend posted, Gregor Steves, he saw a big convoy of police vans moving into a really old traveller site. That wasn't on the news in the UK, he said neither. Now the trouble with that is like, wow, ethnic cleansing while everyone's indoors. That's all it is. And this is the stuff we've got to stand up against. Whether you like gypsies, travellers or not. Oh, these people are filthy and everyone makes stories up. Yeah, they cause some damage, they do some shit. But because they're human, we all do. Have you seen the state of places after a concert, after a festival and so on? And then someone cleans it up. It's that simple. And if some of these people leave a mess, someone cleans it up afterwards, that's fine. but we have to support them and their lifestyle too. Let them live their lifestyle, because it never affects the majority of us. And for the people that it does affect, I feel for them. But in the main, it's like, well, that's the way they live their lives. Some of them. And it's not enough for us to have any great concern, but we have to stand up for them while the police are in and they're cleansing these people while we're in lockdown. Anyway, I think I've said enough for today. Gates must frontman for the top, I believe, so very rich, but just puppets. Yeah, Bill Gates is a puppet for sure. I think he's been compromised. He's a weedy little kid who grew up to be a weedy man with lots of money. He was on Epstein's Island. Someone's probably said to him, right, Bill, you go in front there. Oh, but I don't want to make public speaking. We've got the photos of you and the 14-year-old. Okay. And he's out there fronting it. And he believes in himself with his little insidious laugh. That laugh, which any psychologist will tell you is a deceptive laugh. It's a laugh of a man. It's like relishing in his evil. So, yeah, all of them are not good people. They've got good things about them. They're human beings. They've got things I like about them. They're human beings. But what they're doing at the moment and their insidious plan, I don't like one bit. And worse than that are the people who listen to them and believe, oh well, it's for the good of us all. And how can it be when it comes from diseased minds? And yet we don't even know the names of the people who are doing real work. You know, people going out in their local community, people who are sheltering homeless and feeding hungry people and so on. We don't hear their names, and we don't contribute and promote those people. But yet we're going, oh, did you hear what Elon Musk said yesterday? I don't give a fuck what he said. The most important thing right now is the OBG Show. So don't forget, donate to the OBG Show. Please go look for the show. Find the numbers there somewhere. I won't put them in there. If you don't want to watch the show and you do want to donate, PM me afterwards and so on. I'm not asking for a donation for this, by the way. It's just for the show in general, because I'm putting a hell of a lot of work in. I'm meant to have a show tonight, and the research is a bit time consuming. I just battered my system as well, which is why I went out skating. I lost my Windows, but I still had my Unix partition. I tried to fix the Windows and the Unix has disappeared. All my data's on there, so I'm not panicking, but it's just about getting what they call for the non-computer, the boot sector and the partitions back, so I can see both drives. But I damaged it hard this time, because I damaged it last night and got it back this morning. But I've done something different, and it doesn't require funding to get that back, but what I mean is I might have to take some time off. Anyway, on that note, do your Bill Gates voice again. I don't even know it was his voice. What it is like, I don't know what the condition is. I do this on the show sometimes, but it's because I'm so close to my desk. I moved it back now, but he does this thing with his hands, you know, and I think there's a term that we used to call kids when we was younger. I think it's not PC anymore, but, you know, they're victim of thalidomide. And, you know, it kind of just looks like that sometimes. Maybe we'll target the travellers, as I ain't staying. They have targeted the travellers in the UK. Look it up. I think it's Dorset. I can't remember. I'll post it afterwards then, and if you come back to the show. But my mate saw a massive convoy there, and they passed a new law for travellers settling and so on. So this whole insidious plan is about just getting everyone off of the streets. They may want to lock us down for forever, like the futuristic films. You know, you've got a television and Big Brother talks to you. Who knows? And as I said, I don't entertain fear in the future. You may notice that from me if you watched enough of me, just to say, you know, I don't typically talk about, oh, you know, the future's going to be bad. It's like, if it happens and I'll fight it. But all of us, what we have to do now is say, listen, there's a chance that we don't like what's happening now, regardless of how we see the future. So we have to stand up against it, come out, masks off, and just say this is a load of bollocks, and know the truth, that COVID is an influenza, and it's nothing greater than this that has preceded it, and there will be lives lost, but it's the fact that we're counting them. So for every minute they put a little tick up of somebody just died of heart attack, of cancer, from smoking, from alcohol, just falling off a ladder, and someone would be like, I ain't smoking, I ain't drinking, I ain't climbing up ladders, I ain't so-and-so. But they put the figures down for COVID, and that's what's scaring people. Hello, Jamie. Good to see you, man. Jamie's a very interesting guy. I've really grown to like him and the things he does. Anyway, listen, on that note, thanks for listening, guys. And I'll have a show tonight if I get my computer working. I'm not worried about the data's on there. I might have to transfer it all and do stuff. But this just reminds me, I know it seems like a beg, but I need a new hard drive for the OBG show so I can back everything up so this don't happen. I was talking about this last week, but I did ask people to donate for a chair, which they did. But I need a hard drive, a 1 terabyte hard drive. I can get a 2 terabyte, but they're about 79 quid. But I can get a 1 terabyte hard drive for like I think 39 or 49 for a decent one, Barracuda or something like that. And then I don't have to worry, and I can just back everything up, which means I can just reinstall everything or boot up on my laptop and, you know, do stuff. So yeah, I'm in a bit of a bind with that at the moment. Thanks for listening, and remember, have a great day. You guys are amazing, and I am the OBG.